Hi, everybody. Welcome to Webcast for the month of July. I don't know about you guys, but I can't even believe that we're already at the end of July, and I don't even know where summer went. It's either freezing cold or it's boiling hot around here in Minnesota. So, welcome, everyone. Thanks for spending some time tonight. I would like to, as always, just spend a moment taking a nice big breath and collecting ourselves and kind of getting grounded and bubbled. So if you choose to just close your eyes and relax for one big second, taking in a nice and cleansing deep breath and getting yourself kind of settled, letting go of your day, allowing yourself to just kind of focus on your own body right now. And this goes for anyone listening for the replay as well. So just bringing whatever you think of your God source, love and light into that heart chakra and kind of grounding yourself and letting that heart chakra connection go down through the physical plane of your body, connecting to Gaia and Mother Earth itself, and leaving that connection of our maternal energy there as we bring back the energy to that heart and then move it upward through the crown chakra, through the spiritual plane, connecting to the cosmic father energies so that we are now connected to our parents, father and mother, magnetic and electric. Bringing that back to your own physical heart chakra located in the middle of the chest, and then bursting it out for your own bubble of love, light, and protection. Commanding that only of your highest and best good gets to play in our field here tonight as you as an individual. Commanding anybody or anything that is of love and light to support you is allowed to be here, but anything that does not resonate as your highest and best is not allowed. And now we unify our field to everyone listening, currently live and on replay, so that we extend our love, light, protection to everyone. Again, commanding a drop down and a lock in from east with air, south with fire, west with water, north with earth, cosmic father, maternal mother, and us. So be it, and bringing yourself back fully. Thanks. Okie dokie. So, as always, please join on the side. I will do my best to monitor what you're saying on the sideline. And I love when we're kind of interactive. So that would be super cool. We have got a lot of stuff going on. This energy, I don't know about you guys, but it has been pretty crazy energy, really kind of all over the board. I've been super busy as a practitioner. So it always indicates that things are a little nutty out there. So I think the mostly what I'm hearing from people is it's been really erratic. A lot of people feel like they're sort of losing it. A lot of people feel a lot of anger. A lot of people feel hopelessness. This has kind of been the message for quite some time now. On the other hand, some people have really felt like the energy's really eased up over this last week. And I don't know where you fall on that spectrum. You might want to even say it on the sidebar just to see if you're not alone. I particularly have found a little bit of an evening out this week, not quite as crazy. Granted, I'm doing a lot of my protocols and my therapies and such for Mercury stuff still, so I'm feeling better. That might be something to do with that evening out as well. But I do indeed feel like overall the energies have been sort of settling. As an actual grid worker, though, I think it's been very interesting because I've been talking with some other people that are practitioners. And it's interesting because I feel like I've sort of been on sabbatical or on vacation. And I don't feel like I've been in the grids doing tons and tons of architectural work. And I think that's because we're in the midst of so many different timelines. And we're going to get into timelines tonight. I want to explain those a little bit further, but I do want to start out with the card this month, get into that a little bit, and then we're going to swing back and get into the timeline work. So, our card this month is the Knight of Spheres. This is Pills's artwork. Before a background of architectural blueprints, the head of a man rises from stone. So I think that's pretty cool. And then the traditional rider deck, it looks like this one. This is the Knight of Spheres, also known as Pentacles, sits on a stationary draught horse, carefully looking at the gold coin held in his hand. He is in no hurry, preferring to assess and plan his path ahead before taking any action. In the background, there is a broad field that has been laboriously plowed row by row, symbolizing that this knight is ready and willing to do the work to realize his dreams, even if it is repetitive and dull. So then when we put them side by side, I always think it's super cool to see the difference. Pills's artwork is so awesome, and I love all the spheres in there. Not that the rider deck isn't cool too, but okay. So pretty cool. I think that this is a very interesting card for right now. I do seriously always pick them randomly, and it always makes me kind of have a giggle because there is so much. Whatever's going on out here is relayed in the card, I guess. There's so much alignment to the message. And so the traditional meaning of this particular night is creating material wealth, material security, strong work capacity, lust, stubbornness, instincts, preservation, advancement of life, practical tendencies, drive, hard work, productivity, routine, and conservatism. So it's like kind of a pretty serious card. We have to remember the knight is the worker bee in the tarot deck. The knight is the one that gets the stuff done, right? So upright, this particular card is all about any card that any tarot deck when it has the knight represents work and responsibility that follows upon the dreams and the ideals of the page of the princess before, because when we do tarot it works in conjunction, it builds off of each other. So whatever per that suit, so we are in pentacles and or spheres, when we are in that suit, whatever that page or that princess ahead of the knight had for ideas and dreams and such, that knight works his butt off to make it happen so that then the queen and the king can have it on behalf of the kingdom. So it works in a progression. That's why I think tarot is so cool, because it's kind of a story. Okay. This particular knight is the most hardworking, methodical, and detail-oriented character of the deck, though. This isn't like the most inspiring creative knight. This is not about, oh, creativity, he's doing really cool stuff, he's got great ideas. He is about getting the work done, getting the results. Okay. Even if the work is highly repetitive or routine, he is very, very committed. Everybody should have one of these in their house, right? This card is all about working methodically towards the goals of having a plan in place and sticking to the process. Maybe not in a particularly quick way, but in a consistent and a dedicated way. This is about painstakingly fussy stuff, the executed down to the tiniest details. This is kind of like the nitpicky thing. Gonna work until it's done, doesn't matter, isn't gonna throw in the towel. Probably sounds like the perfect partner or employee if you're gonna ask me, but I think that would be super interesting to have somebody like that in the house, right? Reversed, however, and again, reverse doesn't always mean a bad thing, so we have to remember that. Reverse meaning of the Knight of Spheres encourages us to establish a schedule or a routine for ourselves and stick to it until the task is completed versus getting stuck and dreaming up the new ideas or trying multiple new things. Now, so many of us can get really out of this realm. That's why this one's important right now, because with this crazy ass energy, we're all over the place in this energy right now. So sometimes when the energy is crazy, and we're going to talk about timelines, and this is what's driving people nuts. When we're having interpenetrating timelines and energies, it's very difficult for many of us to actually stick to the plan, to stick to the program, especially when we feel like we're not getting anywhere. So this is about self-discipline and commitment. This guy is like got his nose to the grindstone. It's also about practical and mundane, which can be really, really interesting for me, because a lot of times when I'm a practitioner, especially recently, I get many people coming in and literally they say the same thing. I just feel stuck. I don't know if anybody on the sidebar wants to say if they're stuck either. A lot of people simply say, I just feel stuck. I don't know what's stuck. I don't know what I'm stuck in or out of, but I'm just stuck. And the energy feels stuck. And so this seems to be a very common theme. And we can feel very mundane and boring and routine when we're in that stuck and we don't know how to get out of that stuck. So again, this is a really critical card for us. The flip side can have some other tweaks to the message. One of the other tweaks when it's reversed is the sphere knight might also suggest feeling stuck in the daily grind of life, becoming boring and dull. Implemented routine is stifling its creativity and innovation. This is so many people right now. I just got to go to work. I hate this crap. I'm going just for the freaking paycheck. I don't like what I'm doing, but I have to. So it may be time to do something different. When we're looking at this card as a reverse, this is about that boring, stuck, yucky stuff, but this is also about indicating this means maybe spontaneity. Maybe this doesn't mean you have to stick to the rules. Maybe you get to choose to do something completely different. So remember, the reversed of these cards is also an indicator of the things that we can do to flip this energy, to get out of that energy. And then lastly, in the reversed messaging, this Knight is also a warning of becoming a perfectionist. So this is kind of the other side of the coin. I think that many of us are in this, in terms of, it depends on our belief systems and how we grow up. Caught being critical of others that don't share the same attention to detail. I can't believe he or she didn't do that well. I do it better. I might as well do it because I do it better than anybody. All of those things. I used to be great at that. I mean, I really remember so many times of not letting anybody help me because I could do it faster or better anyway. So this is really that reverse of the Knight, with some kind of arrogance in the way, saying, I'm not going to let anybody assist me. I'm going to become that control freak and that perfectionist. And so a lot of people are kind of in that area right now in their lives as well. So this is a very important card in terms of where people are at. Pills always has some really great messaging. I'm going to read this specific quote from him. It says, through the connection of the fire element with the masculine aspect of the earth element, that's what this card is, masculine and masculine. So masculine fire and masculine earth. The form giving principle of matter combines with the principle of goal-oriented will in order to create a foundation of lasting value. So every time we're talking about a tarot, we are taking the elements themselves, the earth, wind, water, fire, ether elements, and we're combining them. And it's always tweaked with either masculine or feminine. And in this case, it's two masculines working together. That's why it's so pushing and so hardworking and so diligent and so following through. Not that women don't have that, because we know everybody, regardless if we're male or female, has masculine and feminine. That's the law of gender, right? So we always want to look for balance, however. So this is why it's important to look at the reverse of this card and find the balance in there, because we don't want to be a crazy ass perfectionist who's working our butt off every single day and really feeling not much value. So I'm going to read that one quote again from Pills. Through the connection of the fire element with the masculine aspect of the earth element, the form giving principle of matter combines with the principle of goal-oriented will in order to create a foundation of lasting values. So this is a very purposeful card message. This month is very purposeful. It is a driving force of fire itself. So maybe you want to check out your own body. Maybe you want to check out for yourself this month when you're reading all this information. Where's my fire level at? And most of the time when we're looking at our bodies, we feel like that fire level is in the actual solar plexus itself, where that ego is running right there in the mid body, right under the breastbone. So the fire is always a step ahead of the rather sluggish earth element. So fire is consuming. Earth is very, very powerful. And it can be very female. Earth can be female, but in this case, we're talking male earth. So it's kind of a sluggish earth. So that patience and reliability can be recognized as important characteristics that should be incorporated into the way we're doing this, into our being, into our own lives, into ourselves. The same way one puts the horse before the cart in order to use the strength for the work. So this is all about planning, practicality. See, not only planning and seeing the plan through with our vision and our quest, but then doing the plan all the way through down to the tiniest detail. So the Knight of Spheres is indeed that work horse that sometimes once in motion is difficult to stop. This is so me. I think I've been telling everybody that we've been doing my parents. I don't know, maybe I didn't say this. We moved our parents as a family into assisted living in this last week. And I felt like an incredible workhorse this whole month since I've seen you last month, going into a home of 65 years of stuff and basically old people that don't want to let anything go, and just working and working and working and working like crazy. And I wasn't having the perfectionist, oh my God, this is all about me, because there's 6 siblings and then grandchildren. And amazingly, we really shared the workload incredibly between all of us. But the amount of physical work that we did, from purging and goodwill runs and packing and cleaning and scrubbing and moving, literally, it was like, I remember one night I laid in bed and I thought, holy shit, Suzanne, I have never realized how really freaking old and tired you feel right now. I mean, I laid there and every ounce of my body was just like pulsing and going, you're really freaking old. And so that was a little scary and a little freaky. I was wondering if I was even going to be able to walk the next morning. And actually, I was fine. But that particular night, I felt like I was difficult to stop because we were on this trajectory of just get this shit done. We've got to get this done. We had some deadlines we had to hit and yada, yada. And so it is all about us being that natural planner and the implementer that envisions the goal and then actually does the goal. And that's kind of where we were at this particular time. So we all have those times in life. I'm sure that in your own home, many of us can all of a sudden go, okay, we've been bumming around and having a great time half the summer, and now our yard looks like hell. Or I haven't done any of the deep cleaning in my house. Or, one of the things I did on the flip side of doing the parents is I came home and realized my own home was really out of order in terms of I never even washed down my front porch. And I live on my front porch at this time of the year, and I do all my work out there. So again, worked like a 5-hour day of scrubbing all the dirt and the pollen and everything. So we are working like a horse to get the end result that we truly, truly believe in. So it's a great thing to do, but probably we just don't want to be in that mode all the time, or we are indeed going to fall to pieces, at least when you're this age you are. And so this is really determining the best course for the action and then basically sticking to that path until it gets done, even if it's killing you. So now I really want to preface this with, and we talk about this a lot, and I'm going to bring it up. This is driven with an energy of, I'm choosing to do this. I chose to work my butt off with my family, as did my siblings. Even though we felt like we had to, we really didn't have to. You didn't have to show up. You chose. And so this is still driving that focused plan, that energy, that attainment of the goal with an fuel of love frequency. Even though you're exhausted and you probably want to kill yourself after it's over, it's still a love frequency if it's done that way versus, oh my God, I have to do this. I have to prove everything to everybody else. This is all about me. I'm the only one, the victim program, et cetera, et cetera. That is not what this night is about. There is no victimization in this thing. The knight works on behalf of the kingdom in preparation for what the king and the queen are going to be doing. And they do it because of loyalty and honor. It isn't because of victimization. So you want to maybe look at your own life right now and know if you are doing these things where you're pushing yourself with a fear base or a love base. So this message this month tells us to develop a realistic sense of self, because in spite of all the stability of earthly powers, there's still a tendency to overestimate the fiery power of this card. This fire piece of the card can go out of control. It would be like me losing my marbles and cleaning for 10 hours straight, right? Kind of out of control, kind of way too much fire. So it's that balance inside of us that says, yes, indeed, I want to finish this project, but maybe I could have done 4 more hours the next day instead of 10 in one day. So there's always a little bit of a psychological and mental balance in there. The highlight here in this card is all about the meticulous approach, though, of not only planning, but the execution. So remember, it isn't just they're the worker horse, they're the worker bee, but this knight specifically is still included in the execution, but more so the planning. Okay, the execution is one thing. Yeah, I'm going to work, but it's seeing the planning. So let's bring it back to my parents again. It's like, okay, maybe it's more effective if we get a U-Haul instead of doing 500 trips in 4 or 5 cars at a day. Maybe it's smarter if we get everybody at one focus time and work like hell for 4 hours versus day after day for 2 hours or half hours. So this is part of the night card, is to be that one that takes that moment or 2 or 10, whatever it takes, to actually develop the plan to the best use of everyone's time, especially one's self. So that's the details. That's the, okay, we can do this smarter and we can do this better. So I oftentimes find myself doing this. That's not saying I'm so cool and so wonderful, but my old corporate job was like that. I was the executive corporate planner. I was the one that had all of the cross checks and the details of what everybody did. So my brain happens to work like that. If your brain doesn't work like that, you may want to solicit the help of someone that has that frequency of the Knight of Spheres or Pentacles. So you're not running willy-nilly and doing all kinds of extra work just because you're running your butt off. So sometimes the Knight of Spheres points to the more mundane and the boring. This is really, I think, important for us right now. We are in a daily grind and repetitive schedules, household chores, responsibilities, obligations, lots of time. Life is boring. I remember when I was a kid, sometimes my parents would just go, you know what? Life just can be boring. And I always thought that was dumb when I was a kid. And sometimes we want to possibly step back and go, life doesn't have to be hitting us over the head like a 2x4 every single solitary day, because we are really in this kind of a energy that is, again, dualistic. We're going to talk about this dualism in a minute here, because this dualistic energy goes like this. We go up and we go down. So sometimes we're just in a really boring state. Because why? Because then that thing, when it is exciting, feels exciting. It feels like, oh my God, this is so great and this is so cool. Because if everything was constantly exciting, it wouldn't be exciting. So if everything was boring, boring, boring all the time, then we would be completely bored and lose our zest of life. So we are the ones that are responsible for putting these peaks and valleys in. When we find ourselves in too much of the mundane and the boring, that's again when we're starting to get the reverse of this card. We maybe then want to pull our bootstraps up and go do something stupid. Go do something spontaneous. Go do something childlike and break the rules. Go do something that's counterintuitive to the boring, because it's us that needs to shake up that energy. And it doesn't always just happen organically. We want to be aware of we're in charge of that upsy downsy. So when we have upsy downsy energy, a lot of people are scared of that, but this is dualism. It's important to understand that our energies are going to go up. And sometimes we're really scared if they're going to go up, because I don't want them to go up really, really, really high, because then it might fall really, really, really low. Well, if we already know that it goes like this, we don't have to fear this, and we can push ourselves to have the crazy, exhaustive, wonderful, cool time, because I don't have to fear the mundane and the boring, because I know I can spontaneously check in and tweak that again with anything I want to. So we're in charge of this. We're in command of this. And it's important to know that these are the cycles, but we're also the one that's pushing us up or pulling us down. So we're in command of everything. And sometimes that's so powerful that we get scared of that. And so we find ourselves just going, oh, everything's so boring. There's nothing going on. Or, oh my God, everything's insane and I can't even catch my breath. So something in the middle, sometimes that flow in the middle is very important to find. We lose focus and patience, though, along the way when we're not doing well at this night. Meaning, if we know that we have a plan, and that we know that this is long term, and that we know that we want to see the end of it, we get super impatient because we're such, instant gratification humans. And I'm going to talk a lot about the ascension process in a minute here when we get into the timelines, because I think this is something where people are finding themselves frustrated with their impatience right now, because a lot of people felt, I believe, myself included to some extent, that maybe there was going to be a lot more excitement right now with this ascension, a lot more. I mean, granted, there's a lot of crazy shit happening. There's a lot of crazy, crazy energy, but we're talking like massive disclosure or uncovering these things, or, really amazing big things happening. I think we put it in our heads that this ascension process was going to be like, wow, so crazy. And we forget these cycles are 26,000 years, people. So we are obviously going to have some times when we feel boring and mundane with this so-called ascension as well. Even though our energies are rapidly changing, we can feel very stuck. This is what I'm hearing, like I said, in my client base. I'm just stuck. I don't feel like much is going on. I don't feel much of anything. And so lots of times we know that we've got a big project. God forbid we know ascension is the biggest project on this entire planetary existence and in the human species, right? And we know it's a plan, and we know there's a blueprint, and we know there's a process, but we're not patient enough to see it through with the meticulous work of this night. So it is really understanding this card's message to accept our responsibilities without pissing and moaning, I guess, right? Holding grudges to it or ourselves or to others. It might not be terribly exciting every single moment of this process, but we understand if we're doing the work that we're on the right path, that we are indeed not going to quit and throw in the towel, that we will be meticulous and still do the work, and then not really feel bad if I just take a week off or two to just be a human too. So this is the night that keeps inviting us to eventually see our successes, because we will still stay tenaciously diligent on the path, but remembering that path sometimes can just be flipping boring. So this is really difficult for us to understand right now, because the combination of fire and earth offer us the ability to trudge onward in this planetary stuff, this cosmic energy. But it's critical that we examine our belief system. So we're going super fast with this process. Ascension is really, really moving, actually quite extremely fast. But what is our work ethic? What does our family upbringing tell us to do with this kind of really, really fast moving and yet really boring? Really, really, I think I'm doing this. I'm connecting with my guides. I'm feeling ascending. I'm feeling like I'm getting somewhere. And then I got nothing. I can't hear anything. Nothing's happening. I must have pissed him off. I suck. All this stuff that we keep doing like this is where we're at right now. And it is hard for us to maybe follow through, especially depending on what our work ethic is from our family's beliefs. So this is difficult also because during this time period, a lot of people are having kind of collisions with their family or their friends, depending on what's happening with their ascension path and yours. I'm ascending, I'm learning the stuff, I'm being diligent, I'm looking at things differently. You're a crazy person. I can't stand being around you. I don't want to hear all your crap. I don't want to hear your conspiracy. Yada 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 yada. So we're getting a lot of this outside messaging, and it's very, very difficult sometimes for us to stay on our actual ascension path. For us to know that regardless of what my father and mother, grandfather, teachers, whatever, what I grew up with for work ethic might have a tweak to it now, or it might be completely different, or it might not have any of the same that I grew up with. So it's hard for us to just take what we were given from childhood if it doesn't resonate any longer, because these energies are going to be making changes for us at rapid pace. So this, you have to, you need to, you can't, you should, of the old energy is the night, but only pushing with fear. Okay. So this new energy is the night pushing with love. I get to do this. I'm choosing to do this. I am choosing to finish my porch and work for 10 hours and fall into bed exhausted because I want the porch done tomorrow, because I want to sit on it. And the next morning when I have my coffee, I'm thrilled and I feel great. It's different than I have to do this because I have to prove to everybody that I keep a good house. These are the differences in how this old energy or new energy looks with the same exact card. So this old programming, the old way, can trigger our primal wounds of not enough and safe. We talk about this every single month, and I'm probably going to talk about this until the cows come home. When we are working, and we have to accomplish this and we need to do this, we oftentimes are doing it because we think that this will create safe. This will be a safe environment. This will be a safe thing. This will be a safe presentation to the world on me, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I can trigger, and there's not enough time and nobody's helping me. I don't have enough help. I don't have enough money. I can't get this done. I am not enough. Oh my God, I'm not enough. I'm not enough. So this is that primal wound triggering that is really, really critical for us right now. So this hammers in that 3D world. And so we want to be very sure that when we're doing the meticulous planning of the night, that we are doing it from the standpoint of the outcome, working through love versus fear, meaning I'm getting to do these projects, not I have to do these projects. So the way that we plan right now, by the way, is going to be changing unbelievably. In fact, I'm doing this also with clients. I am thinking I want to do this in 2 years or the end of the year, or I want to do this in 5 years. That's all fine and dandy, but trust me, nothing's going to be the same by the end of this year, much less by next year, much less by 5 years. Our timelines and the way that the energies are shifting are happening at such a rapid pace that the way that we plan is going to be different. So it's not that I'm saying that the Knight of Spheres or Pentacles is an outdated tarot, because it isn't really, but this absolutely having to stick to the plan is what's going to change, because the plans will change because the energy is changing. So we're going to have to be able to punt. We're going to have to be able to go, well, that just took a left turn, and now I'm going to just kind of refocus and reshift, because when the energy shifts, a lot of this stuff is going to shift. And so we can see this in massive amounts of programming happening in our world right now. You know, we've got interest rates going like crazy. We're all talking about the recession that's most likely coming. We're talking about crap that isn't on the shelves. I mean, I walked in Walmart today and half the shelves are empty again. I'm like, seriously, here we go with the not enough programming again. So we're having to punt and refocus and reshift. So it isn't that we aren't going to be this planner, this visionary, and this workhorse, but we want to be diligent with our eyes on watching the entire scope and the whole scene and the whole setup behind the scene and the planning behind the scene, because we want to be aware of what's really happening behind the scenes, what's really happening, so that I don't trigger into, oh crap, I'm not safe now, or oh crap, there isn't enough. So this is, yes, we plan. Yes, we be diligent in our focus, but we be able to shift gears to see it through in the best way that is pertinent to the energy at the time. So this is really important, and it is going to be changing constantly. And I really believe that we're going to have some, like I said, I always look over here because I pulled that whole annual card, and I'm just going to look off to the side. July, I have the Fence, which was about deception, sneakiness, and deceit. August was what we're moving into, which is the Quake card, disruption, danger, tumultuous, randomness, breakdowns, attacks. So crazy, crazy energy in August. And remember, we have Lionsgate on 8/8. So by the time we talk again, I'll be writing about Lionsgate, and we'll talk about Lionsgate. It's always one of the strongest portals that sets us up for the trajectory for the next rest of this year. So remember 8/8. And by the way, when we have Lionsgate, that 8/8 portal is the day, but it's always a week to a week and a half, sometimes pushing 2 on either side. So we're looking at a 3-week period, not a day. Okay. And then September, I again got the Fence card, which is so weird. I tell you guys this probably every month, but I put these things into a big random thing and I pull them, and I pulled the same exact card 2 times in one quarter. So July, August, September in my card pull is pretty all volatile and up in the air as far as how things are going to shake out, what the energies are looking like. So yes, we plan, but we don't have to stick to that plan with the meticulousness of this Knight of Spheres as much as the old energy would have. So what is really happening? It is individual space, individual reality. I'm going to get into what's really happening in a second here, Sherry, because I think what's going so crazy is the timelines. Let me just finish this card thing, and I'm going to slip right into this. In a spiritual sense, this card indicates that we are being invited to bring our own actions into harmony with the laws of nature itself. This is super important, the laws of nature. We've talked about this before. I know Mary's on here tonight, Mary Z. And she's doing coaching. Hey, girl, you might want to be on the Cool Tool sometime. Give me a holler at another time, and let's get you in that loop, because Mary does a lot of studying on the laws of the universe and the Kabbalion. And so we've talked about this before. The first and foremost law of the universe is the law of one. And so our alignment to all of this is part of this ascension process. And this spiritualness that we're feeling with all of these cards is trying to get the energies in alignment with the actual universal laws itself. We are getting in laws with nature itself, not just the natural laws of the universe, but nature laws itself. That's what the training video was about this month. So what we want to maybe do is spend more time playing. When we're bored and mundane, go play like a kid. Nothing shakes it up better than that. Getting our human time planning and succeeding in those 3D ways, but play until things work out. Take your message into the focus of this card into the nature itself again. Get into the trees, get into the water. I've been spending a lot of time up at the cabin, was working with the water the other day, really crazy. The animals themselves are insanely coming close. I have squirrels literally on my screen at home wanting to like talk. I mean, 2D is waking up insanely around us. So living in harmony with nature means that we respect all of life around us. That's part of what's happening here. We are waking up and ascending this whole planetary existence, including nature itself. So this fosters the well-being for not only us, but for the planet, the animals, the plant kingdom, the elemental kingdom, all simultaneously. It all works as one. So this is the playground. This is what is most important, is to get outside and do the work. But I really wanted to focus on, I loved this, where, let me get them, hang on. The pills card has the actual, do you see how he has, it's kind of hard to see it. It's got the blueprint behind him. I think you can kind of see it. It's him making the plans, making the blueprint, making the actual structure of it. So when I was sitting there thinking about what's going on, I've had the weirdest clients, and my sister included, say the weirdest things about stuff that's happening. And maybe anybody on the side wants to chime in. Things appearing and then not there. I just went over there and that was right there and now it's not. Or how the hell did that all of a sudden get into the room? That wasn't even here before. Or I see something and now it's completely different. We're doing a lot. We talked to Tad about this last time, but timelines are interpenetrating so much that I wanted to get into what's really happening. And it is individual space, it is individual reality, Sherry, but it's also all of it. Everything is opening up like crazy. So I wanted to go through what timelines are. And I hope that I can get this understandable, because this is a lot of stuff. And it's timelines are what are the precursor to manifesting. Timelines include these grid patterns that I oftentimes talk about, because when we have grids, we have a thought, which runs this way, which is a male, and then we have an emotion, which is female, which runs this way. And if we keep producing these all the way across, it creates that grid pattern. And we've talked about this before. So the grid patterns will sort of catch the energy and make a so-called pattern to be able to blueprint. So those of us that work in this world can almost sense directions and timelines that are coming, because we can also monitor the collective thoughts and the collective feels, especially when we're working with clients. What's happening on this planet? We watch a lot. So this is very important for us to understand, because timelines are what create our reality. They are our reality, and they are constantly changing and shifting. So I want to break this down a little bit, and I hope this makes sense. And if it doesn't, jump on the side and say, what are you talking about? So we have talked oftentimes about dimensional planes of existence. Are like layers in a cake. I always say it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to God's source. And these planes of reality, or planes of existence, my plane of existence, where I'm creating what I'm understanding, there's many, many, many of them. We've talked oftentimes about how we are a microcosm of the macro universe, the macro architecture. We are a tiny architecture of the macro architecture. So when we look at those layers of time, space, reality, they are our chakra system: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we know they go below us and above us, but we'll stick with this for now. So these planes of existence, or planes of reality, are also octaves of sound frequency and vibration. So when we are in creational reality, each structure or each plane actually has 2 octaves to it. Why? Because we're in a dualistic reality. We're in a this and a that. We're in a male and a female. We're in a yin and a yang. So if I have a root chakra, or a first plane of existence, or a first plane octave, that, all the same thing, different words, different examples, that one plane has 2 octaves. Okay. So my one plane has 2 octaves. My second plane, the sacral, has 2 octaves. My third plane, the 3D reality that we're in, the solar plexus, has 2 octaves. So our 3D world has 6 octaves, or 6 timelines, because a timeline is an octave. meaning there's a frequency of its reality. So I'm going to say this again. In the 3D world, in and of itself, we already have 6 timelines, potential 6 timelines, interpenetrating at all times. And this is really hard for us to understand because we just think we're right here, because we think time space is real, and it isn't. So remember, dualism, we're in a dualistic reality. So anytime you are navigating a plane of existence or a plane of reality or an octave of the frequencies, you are actually gaining 2. So we are in a 3D world, okay? When we spiritually evolve and are initiated into higher dimensions, which is what we're all doing right now, we're initiating ourselves into higher frequencies. I'm releasing the fear of my physical plane. My physical plane is levels 1, 2, and 3, right? In the chakra system. 1, 2, and 3. That's 2, 4, and 6. I got 6 timelines that we're navigating in 3D right now that are very physical, fear-based. This is what we are getting out of because we're going up to 4D and 5D, right? Well, if we go up to 4D and 5D, we just added 4 more timelines. 4 more timelines on top of the 6 we've already been doing. This is why shit's getting crazy, because now we're starting to understand these timeline realities, these timescapes, these octaves used to be, this is why I used to draw it like this, a sponge cake with frosting and a sponge cake. That's why I said it's like layers of a sponge cake, layers of reality. The frosting is no longer there. The frosting has disintegrated or melted and the sponges are all mushing into each other. So we're collapsing our timelines. We are collapsing our reality. So as we move up into future timelines or higher resonance or higher frequencies, okay, we are exposed to more dimensions. And nobody really tells us this. We are now being exposed to 4 more timelines just by being in 4 and 5D, much less when we hit 6, right? Within the dimensions, we also are, this is where it gets really hard, guys, so I hope you're staying with me. We're also coming into stations of our own identity. So let me back up on what that means. When we talk about ascension, the highest, best way to ascend is to get rid of your fear, is to lighten yourself, is to enlighten, right? Enlighten yourself. The way that we do that is we get rid of fear density. We release old pain. We release old memories. We release old experiences. We release all of the crap that happened to us so that we can let that stuff go and we can raise our vibration, right? So this is the same thing that is happening in all of creational reality. We are going through our own time matrices. So I don't know about anybody else, but you, when Sherry said, is this happening individually? Yes, it is, but it's also collectively and it's also multi-universally. Let's start with individually. When we are collapsing our own body, our own time space, we are now going through, oh, I'm remembering that from childhood. Oh, God, I had that memory. Oh, I ran into so-and-so. So we're doing a lot of healing with old crap from our childhoods, whether we know it or not. Hopefully you do know it and you embrace it and you're doing the work of it. So how do we let go? We just simply let go by, maybe we dance it out. Maybe we burn it out. Maybe we do therapy. Maybe we do candle work. Maybe we burn it in a fire. It is absolutely 100% feeling the feel center of the emotion and the experience and then moving through it. And maybe there's forgiveness, maybe there's atonement, maybe there's all kinds of added layers depending on the memory and the experience. But this is about going through the process of cleaning out your container. Is this overwhelm of so many dimensions the reasons why we stay in 3D and overwhelmed in our daily lives? Great question, Mary. Everybody read that on the side because I read it fast. The overwhelm is what everybody's like, oh shit, I don't want to deal with that pain. And this is the stupidity of humanity because you're already dealing with it. You already dealt with it once. It's in your cell structure. It's in your memories. It's in your fascia. It's in your bones. And you're sticking it, or so you think, on this lovely little shelf and you're putting it away. And it isn't. It's eating at you like a battery wearing out on your cell phone because your apps are open. So this is the overwhelm that people are feeling, that it feels like the tidal wave is coming. Because indeed, guys, the tidal wave is coming and it's not going to stop. So let's get on the tidal wave and learn how to surf and do the flow differently. because every single one of us is getting more and more aware of the other, what we call stations of our identity, meaning the other me's. Meaning, I was a 6-year-old me, I was a 12-year-old me, I was a 20-year-old me, I was the really raging party idiot maniac me, I was the really staunch corporate me, I was the cheating me, I was the whatever me, I was the sick me. I mean, there's a million stations of our identity that we are going through, because if we don't own them, we don't come into the fullness of who we are. This is why it is so important for people that have got labels. This is why we're going to go back to the belief system. Labels that we've given ourselves. Oh, I'm the good girl in the family, or I'm the crazy one, or I'm the idiot one, or I'm the party one, or I'm the one that does everything. We have these stations of identity that are given to us by others, or we project and create our own through a human story. And these are very dangerous because we are all of them. And it is important for us to know that I am safe to navigate all of them. I may not want to be all of them every day, 24/7, but if I am overwhelmed by it or ignore it or fake myself out that I can't be it, it's only going to cause dis-ease in the body. So these different stations of identity are coming in because we're collapsing 1, 2, and 3 as a creational existence right now. As human beings, we're collapsing 1, 2, and 3, and we're learning how to ground into our hearts. Our chakra systems are changing. This is why our body hurts. This is why we feel scared. This is why we feel overwhelmed and not enough, because it's important for us to understand I am safe, I'm enough, and I am worth right here on this plane of existence because I've merged with the earth. I've become part of her and I trust her as my maternal mother. So this is a collapsing of things at the same time as an expansion. Is this starting to make any sense, or have I lost you all already? Because if I've lost you all already, it's only going to get harder. So give me a heads up. Okay. So, why this is so tough though, is when we're opening up to 4D and 5D, which potentially tips the scales to 6D, and I'll tell you how in a second. This means two more timelines. So we already have 2, 4, 6 timelines. Now we have 8, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, right? So we're now navigating potentially 10 timelines, depending on where you are in your journey. Now, amazingly, some of you, if you're really doing great work, and this isn't a judgment thing, it doesn't mean you're doing great if you're doing higher. It's just wherever your soul is at. But if you're doing a lot of purging and work to find even higher frequencies and you're up at 8 and 9, just think every time you go an octave, you add 2 timelines. So this is why a lot of people who are doing massive spiritual work are now remembering other lifetimes. When we start to get out of when we're in 1, 2, and 3, which is our physical plane of existence, this is where our soul in the big picture resides as a personality. It resides as Earth. It is the 3D experience, okay? What happened is our 26,000 year cycle ended in 2012, and we were moving as a whole creational reality out of 1, 2, and 3 up into 4, 5, and 6. We're jumping to the next quadrant. Everything works in threes. We jump from 1, 2, and 3. We're moving to 4, 5, and 6. Okay. We're only in 4 and 5, 3, 4, and 5. So we're eking in there because it's a 26,000 year cycle, right? So when we collapse 1, 2, and 3, we already are working on those timelines. We're re-experiencing, we're re-remembering, we're seeing all stations of our identity in our soul, in our personality of our soul. But now when we wake up into 4, 5, and 6, we're moving into, oh, now this is my soul matrix. This is really me figuring out my soul. This is why 5D feels good, guys, because 5D is full of love. It's my soul. This is where I reside in a higher plane. This is awesome. But it also opens up more timelines, more potentialities. So when we are in that next triad, because everything works in threes, okay, 1, 2, and 3 is the physical plane. 4, 5, and 6 is our heart, our throat, and our third eye. This is where that next plane of existence or next octaves are going. When I activate 4 and 5, which we're doing right now, it tips the scale and opens up to 6. It isn't running it yet, but it opens it up to another potential timeline. So literally, we've gained 6 more timelines. So we're crazy people right now because we're navigating 12 timelines, and some people are doing way more than 12 if they've been activated into higher self. So this is very difficult. So I'm going to give you how crazy this stuff plays out in real life. My sister Sarah calls me the other night, funnier than crap, freaking out, super late at night. She's like, "Oh my God, you got to call me." And I'm like, "What?" She goes, "I think my house is haunted. I don't know what's going on. Something's insane." And I said, "What?" And she said, "I'm sitting here in my basement watching my TV. And I had my computer because it was logged on to what she was doing. I removed the computer. I put it elsewhere, right next to the TV. She removed it. She put it elsewhere, went upstairs to do something, whatever, came back down. And in the exact same space now was sitting her kettlebell. You know, those kettlebells that you do for exercise. She said, "Suzanne, that kettlebell has been in my closet covered with dust for I don't know how long. I've never used the dumb thing. I never, ever use it. And it's sitting right next to my freaking TV. What is going on?" And I started laughing super hard. And she's like, "It's not funny." She's freaking out. And I said, "Sarah, I scanned your house. There's nothing scary. This is a timeline glitch." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "What did you do last night?" And she said, "Well, it was her birthday the day before." And she said, "Well, for my birthday, I was doing some manifesting about how I was going to start exercising and get in shape and lose some weight for real." And I said, "And look what the universe did. It just showed you the potentialities of you being in another universal timeline using that kettlebell." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" But do you see how crazy this is? If we put thought, emotion, and intention into a potentiality of a healthier timeline with wonder and awe and grace, I can see something of me in the future now. I can see a future me now of the one that said, "Hey, I'm going to go dig out that bell and I'm going to start working out." So it's like she gets a glimpse of what the potential future timeline could be, and the thing just manifests and apparates from her. And so it doesn't come floating, you guys. It isn't like, oh, it comes floating out of her closet and it just lands next to her TV. It isn't stupid paranormal stuff like that. It's a actual overlap of a timeline that said, yes, there's a piece of Sarah that took that intention seriously, got that kettlebell out, stuck it next to her TV, and was probably watching videos of how to do getting in shape with it, right? So we can see the potentiality, but it manifests as a reality. So if this is making any sense at all to any of you, this is how crazy this stuff is going to get. So we can see the potentiality, even though she didn't get on her sweatpants and turn on the TV and do the video yet, the timeline showed her the creational reality of how it could be. So this is insane. I know it sounds insane, but it is literally the way that these timelines will interpenetrate and they twist together, much like a licorice twist. You know how we have red licorice twisting? And actually, that red licorice that twists and you can pull it apart thread by thread, that's the cooler one to think about, because they have that kind of red licorice where it's really knobby and you can pull it. Or string cheese is another one. We can pull it apart. So this is how the threads of reality are coming into existence for us. And this is very important for us to know that this is not going to go away. For some of us, it's going to even be more crazy. It isn't scary, it isn't paranormal, and it isn't freaky, but it is part of what is happening. So these triads of who we are comprise our actual body. They are our forgotten selves. They are our other existences. This is an existence of Sarah when she's healthy and she's doing exercise. We can go into memories and intelligence of not only that kind of a timeline, but way future or way past. I can remember being on another planet. I can see myself in a future when food is growing differently, etc. So we will be having little glitches in our humanness of having these little crackles. Not everybody will do this, but many of us will. And the more that you are aware of it, the less you'll freak out about it. And the more that you are aware of it and encourage it, the more you can learn from it. Because what is happening is you're moving up the ascension time matrix. You're moving up the universal time matrix as a person and as a reality. We are opening up everything to what we could be in the future right now. So what we're doing is we're reclaiming ourselves. It's like the old adage of spirituality is we die and then we go home and we be with the Father. And we made Christianity really dorky because we're going to die and then we're going to float up and we're going to be on a cloud with Jesus and everything's going to be wonderful. It isn't that far off. What we do is we're reclaiming our true home, but we're doing it as individual fractals of the God source. So we're reclaiming our soul. We're reclaiming all of who we are in the past, current, and future, all at the same time. And we're returning our souls to one because we have broken this matrix. This whole holographic matrix was broken. The architecture was ruined and broken and hijacked and manipulated. And this is the basis of what we're fixing right now. So this is all starting with this 26,000 year shift of ascension of our planetary system and the people on it. This planet itself is going into a 5D reality. That doesn't mean it goes somewhere. That means everybody on it that is in that octave, in that resonance, holding that frequency of love, getting rid of all that fear, rid of all the triggers, rid of all the old beliefs, rid of all the programming. If I'm in that resonance, I'm still on the same plane as everybody is here, but I do not see what anybody else sees. I do not hear what other people hear. I experience things differently. And eventually, the people that are stuck in the 3D fear will eventually leave planet and not return to this planet. So this planet will eventually call out anybody that has too much fear and can't hold that frequency. So this ascension process, this 5D new earth, was the plan all along for this whole existence. We are a project for many in the galaxy to watch and study and learn from. The actual plan of 5D new earth was actually aborted. The full plan changed way back right before 2012, 2009, 10, 11, right in there. It was already aborted because so much of the negative agenda had come in and learned how to infiltrate our system and learned how to do program reversals and lockdowns and hijacks of our planetary existence. So our ascension process got diverted, it got aborted. But then it got a new resurgence because the founder races came in because they said, you broke the law of one. The law of one, this is a program, this Earth ascension is a program for all of universes. And this infiltration by the negative forces changed the law of one. And that is not acceptable. That is the only time interference will come from benevolence, when they break universal law, and they broke the big one. So this turned the ascension process back to us being able to ascend ourselves, being responsible for our own ascension, and we needed to hit a critical mass of numbers. This is why the ascension process has been so crazy in the last couple of years, because indeed we did hit the numbers even 3 years ago. So we did hit critical mass in the numbers of love versus fear, program being deleted, people doing their own work, getting rid of fear, getting rid of old memories, getting rid of collapsing themselves, regaining their sovereignty, finding who they are again. This is the work so many people have done. At the same time, the grid workers have restructured the architecture out there in the big, huge hologram so that these nets, this infiltration, this bad programming, the cabal, the dark forces, the black hats, all the crap that you want to call it, is losing in terms of the actual ascension process. Now, this is important to understand. At the very same time, we're in 10 and 12 timelines consecutively. So yes, we did ascend, but did we? Because this is still what we're feeling. We're feeling the crap of how we got here. We're experiencing this process. We are now in the thick of, oh my God, this is how you got here, but it doesn't feel very good getting there. So this is why the Knight of Spheres comes into play. The plan is done. The architecture is there. The blueprint was created and handled by the founder races. This is a benevolent program that is guided by God source. And we need to stick to the plan, even though we're bored or scared or mundane, or I feel like it's not going anywhere. Because if we get that stupid, we'll get fear programmed and we will fall for, again, another round of controller programming, which will then throw us right back into the inverted matrix. So what we want to understand, if we choose, is that we individually are a mini version of this whole entire process. My 1, 2, and 3 physical plane on my body is collapsing in terms of my chakras, in terms of the resonance octaves. That means pretty much I'm probably going through all my old garbage. I'm going through like going to therapy, remembering what my mom said, remembering what my grandpa did, remembering what my teacher did, all of the crap that we're going through to get rid of anything in our matrix that is holding us too heavy, and then getting rid of it any way we choose to, like we talked about. This is a huge thing that is happening right now. People are having memories. We're running into old people that we knew. Oh my God, I haven't seen you in 30 years. I never let go of that boyfriend. All of those things are coming full circle. And it's insane how this is happening in mass. This is because in mass, we are holding the high octave to be able to make this happen on behalf of everybody. So individuals that do their work will move through an ascension process of their soul. Individuals who don't choose to do their work can choose not to. There's no have to in this regard, but their soul will have a different trajectory. Their soul will do different things after they leave this planet. And that's their course and their decision. It doesn't mean they're going to hell and sitting in fire, but they certainly will not have access to a 5D, 7D timeline. So this is important for us to not judge somebody else, even if that person is our partner, our child, our parent, our friend, our sibling, whatever. We don't get to judge, because for all we know, their participation in not just their soul journey and individual journey is different, but maybe even in their soul family and soul group. So now what does that mean? What that means is when we go through these octaves, the first 3 octaves, 1, 2, and 3, is when my soul has a personality. Suzanne's my personality. When I'm in 4, 5, and 6, I'm getting into my soul matrix. This is my higher self. This is my, this is who I really am, connected to that feeling of God source and love. When I get to 7, 8, and 9, I get into what's called my monad matrix, my highest self, my really bigger self, where I start to go, oh, I'm part of a soul family. I'm actually reclaiming my entire soul family at the same time of this. And then beyond that is called our avatar self, which is a really big God source soul essence self. And that even gets crazier, because then we start to remember, oh, I'm not just an individual, I'm a soul. I'm not just a soul, I'm in a soul family. I'm not just a soul family, I'm in a soul group. I'm not just a soul group, I'm a soul essence. I'm just an essence. I'm an essence of source. And as we keep getting higher, we get less and less matter, meaning down here is physical. We can feel it. We're 3D. We can touch it. We can feel it. We can sense it. When we're up here, it becomes the I am presence. And so when we get to the concept of just being essence, which many of us are, and come down here to have a physical matter experience, we don't understand what that even means, but it is part of the architecture. It is part of the knowing. So my remembering very many times is having past life dream, out of body meditations, experiences. I did it under hypnosis, etc. Of remembering being essence. And I don't know if we're all essence. And again, this isn't a value thing. I think we all have different jobs. Some of us have been essence, and we came down here to be embodied, to learn something specifically for source, to embody it, because the embodiment is the most important part. We cannot change anything on behalf of all of this God structure until we embody the spiritualness of it. That is the actual process. We embody the higher frequencies and knowings of our God source self in order to know itself. So this is what we're basically doing with this ascension process. We are reclaiming who we are, not only as individuals, but as a humanity, as a planet, and as all of architecture. And this is such a huge concept. And for those of you that maybe were in Sedona with me when we did the architecture, I may repeat that class, maybe locally for a lot of people. Maybe we'll do like a shout out on that really soon by the end of the year. It is such a hard concept to understand that we're architecture, that we create realities, we create timelines, we create the timelines. We create them, like my sister, with a thought and an emotion and an intention. Whether she chooses to make that timeline a reality for herself is her choice. This is where free will comes in. So really understand that we are holographic, and our holographic reality has been toyed with. Our original, authentic, organic, God intended timeline got jacked, literally got hijacked by dark forces. And the coolest part to me is that benevolence stepped in and said, absolutely not. You broke the law of one. You don't get to do that. Now, many of us don't know that. We can't feel that. We don't hear it. We don't sense it. But this is, I hope, what faith is for many people, to know that indeed we do create this reality. We manifest what we are existing in. And this is not the easiest thing to swallow sometimes when we have crap happening to us, right? So don't give your fear away to anything negative if you choose not to, which I hope you do. Don't give your energy of fear to the negative alien agenda. Don't allow propaganda and programming and fear manipulation and all the 3D bullshit that we're dealing with create such a fear extension for you that you don't want to know. Now, remember, they're very tricky. They can go into your matrix in dream space and in meditative space and give you very uncomfortable memories that aren't real. They can give very many Armageddon programs or terrorist programs, or don't remember your past lives because they'll be scary, or don't work with alien off planet memories because that's when you get into trouble. And they can holographically insert all kinds of really crappy things into your space if you are not clear on your boundaries. So I'm doing this shameless plug. I'm doing the empath class up at the Palmer House on this next weekend here. 5, 6, and 7 up at the Palmer House. There's still room if anybody wants to look at that, if that resonates for you, because this is teaching us how to not take other people's stuff. Don't take information from land or spaces. Don't take it from news. Don't take it from beings. Don't take crap that isn't that's negatively not yours. So we have to move through artificial and inorganic timelines. It's going to be there. It is always going to be there. The negative agenda is always going to be there. What we want to do is we want to get smart, and we want to have discernment, and we want skill sets that say, oh no, that's not mine. This is an equivalent to when the Ukrainian war was starting. And yes, obviously we have some semblance of a war. I'm not saying, of course, it is real to some extent. But the first time I saw propaganda on TV, I stopped in the middle of my kitchen and my husband was freaking out. Oh my God, we're all going to war. This is it, blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him and I said, half of that's programming. I could feel it by watching the TV. The body is designed to know this stuff. The negative agenda can't feel. It can't feel. So your body and feel senses are the most powerful tool you have. That is your weaponry, is your feel. And this is, again, why when you open up to other timelines, it's going to give you all the feel experiences of all the other lifetimes, all the other stations of identity. So it can be horribly scary and it can be intimidating, but it's important work because we want to be able to feel. We want to be able to feel the pain and then let it go, feel the joy and then let it go. So remember, our thoughts and our emotions are what are literally creating timelines. It creates the grid. It captures the energy, which turns the holographic blueprint on. We do this as individuals, but we do it as a collective. So every single thing we're doing as an individual is sharing in that collective. And this is why we reached critical mass in numbers, because many, many, many light workers, starseeds, people that were awakened, did the work. And they did it on behalf of everybody. So collectively, we reached the mass to get us back onto the so-called B version of the 5D timeline. The 5D ascension timeline got hijacked, but the B plan came in. So we are in that B plan, and it is done and it is finished, but we're navigating 10 timelines on how we got there. So we are always needing to reach higher octaves if we're going to do this, okay? Higher octaves of the original God source frequencies. This is what the process is. This is how God works. It comes down and it makes itself known. It makes itself manifest. It makes itself be, and then it returns back home. That's what we do. That's the whole process. And so we do it as individuals, but we're doing it as a collective race as well. We're returning to our soul family, our soul group, our soul essence, our God, without dying, which is amazing. That's what Plan B is. That's what this ascension process is. That's why we are such an incredible project. But this is also why the false negative agenda wants to stop it, because then we're so powerful. We are God. We remember who we are. The negative forces have done such an incredible job over eons. And remember, 26,000 year cycles. So we're talking 26 back, 26 back, 26 back. Okay. Many, many eons have gone on with this false agenda. Many. That's why the cabal crap is not new. None of this is new. The Christ story, none of it is new. This has all been done again and again and again. Okay. So false codes and and software, false codes, false software. Think of it like your computer got a virus. Think of the computer you're looking at right now, and all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, now I got to go into, Geek Squad because I've been totally infiltrated and hijacked on my computer. That's what happened in our holographic 5D organic timeline. Okay. So theys placed Armageddon programming in there, Nostradamus programming, 911 programming, prophecy programming, military, alien, all that stuff, all the false agendas, cataclysms, all that stuff we're so scared of because why? Because it's programmed right into our supercomputer, and we see it in unseen ways, we hear it in unheard ways, we experience it in unexperienced ways because it goes to the subconscious and it's everywhere. So this is why we need to have discernment, because then our body knows, you know what, that doesn't feel organic. It doesn't feel. I can't feel. It feels metallic. It feels dead. It feels a lag. It feels janky. It doesn't feel natural. That's when we know it's not God source. And so this is when we start to reclaim our spiritual identity. We can rediscover our freedom by taking back the feel centers of our body. So when we reclaim our spiritual body, we move through another timeline. Anybody that is doing the work to get rid of fear, keeps raising and raising and raising. But as you raise, remember, each time you raise to another level, that opens up 2 octaves. So now I might be remembering off-planet experiences. I've had many of these, and they're not so easy to remember. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes this is scary stuff, but it doesn't have to be scary when we come back and go, but this is Suzanne this lifetime. I'm the one that's sitting here in the physical vehicle. The alien memory of me doing this, that, or the other thing may be terrifyingly scary until I remember, no. That's a memory. Whether it's an implanted one or a real one does not matter. It's a reclamation of reclaiming the identity, the memory, the feel, and then saying, but it doesn't belong to me. This me, right now me, so I'm going to send it back. So this is how we return the information to source energy. This is what is very important to connect us to God as the overall authority, the Akash, the book of life itself, the library. We need to return the experiences. So fear is what is in our way. And we're really good at that, we humans. We can get fearful about anything. And I'm just as vulnerable as anybody else. But the pivot time is what you want to get better at. I can still have fear, but I want to reclaim it immediately. I can still get scared, but I want to get back on track right away. I want to pivot. I want to refocus. I want a paradigm shift. So remember, this stuff is just at the beginnings, and yet we're going so fast, meaning 2012 was the so-called shift in a 26,000 year cycle. But because the benevolence pushed it to the B plan, it is going so flipping fast. And that's why everything is accelerated in fear and love. Everything is going hugely fast, which is another reason for us to understand, be careful what you're thinking. Be careful what you're putting into the matrix. Be aware and be diligent of what you're projecting, because you're creating that. So it is very important for us to know this architecture is something we won't probably get our heads around unless we're a huge grid worker and holographic work, but it's there. And these essences of themselves are actually reclaiming themselves as well. I oftentimes talk about Lisa Renee on energetic synthesis, and I tried to explain some of her work. This month was so freaking hard. And I mean, I've been studying her for almost 20 years, and I'm usually pretty good at it. And this month I'm like, oh my God, my brain was like, oh my God. She was literally talking about Melchizedek, which was at one point a manifested person during a time period, which then became lots of entities. So there's lots of stations of identity for him as a manifested being. But originally, it's an essence. It's a teaching. It's one of the highest levels of the octaves of the God source, which is just an essence of teaching, of knowledge, of the architecture of what this is. And this architecture got torn apart like you would pull body limbs apart. If you destroyed a human, you would pull their arms off and throw it over there, pull their head off and throw it over there. The essence of the Melchizedek in the architecture was pulled apart, and this was part of the dark agenda. And her letter this month was the reclamation of Melchizedek, But it wasn't even a body per se. That was metaphoric. It was the actual reclamation of the teachings of the law of one, of the laws itself, of the laws of the universe, of the hidden mysteries. And so the reclamation, meaning his arm is back, his hand is back, his head is back, means that the architecture of this infinite knowledge is coming back together. So this tells me we're winning this actual end game. This tells me the king or the knight of spheres is the one who's plotting down the blueprint and keeping on track and is going to work like hell until the end of time to reclaim all of this architecture to make this reality go back to source. It's working, but we don't see that when we're trying to figure out how to pay a mortgage. When I got a kid who's losing his mind and I'm responsible for it. When I don't know how to, figure out my husband is cheating on me, and on it goes. We don't know how to connect those dots. And yet it is imperative for us to do so. It is imperative for us to be in the game because that's what we're doing down here. It's a holographic infrastructure of reclaiming our sovereignty and our freedom, all at the same time. We're having really bad players. We're up at the cabin and my sister was saying, hey, have you watched the newest season of Stranger Things? That Netflix gig that has the upside down world. And I watched the first probably 3 seasons of it. And it's very metaphoric for all this stuff. It's the reversal. It's the upside down world. Everything that we see up here is actually down here and vice versa. And it's got the scary guys and it's got, everything's very metaphoric. And I didn't care to watch any more of it because I just don't want to get that gory with all that crap because I understand the metaphor. We are in the period of time where we're taking out all the bad guys, and it is happening. It doesn't seem like it because we can look at our politicians and we can look at our news and we can look at all the shit on the streets and think that we're losing, but we're not. And so this is time to be the knight of spheres and say, no, I'm going to hold the course. I'm going to be tenacious. I am going to make sure that we finish the end game. And that end game for you as an individual might only mean I'm going to clean up my crap from this individualized experience, all the crap that I went through as a kid, all the bullshit that I was up against as a teen. Maybe that's all you need to do, because that certainly is huge, because each one of us is integral in this process and the collective work. So we are created in triads. So think of the actual balancing as in 1, 2, and 3. 1 is your root chakra. That's your connection to safe, planetary safe, maternal energy. 2 is your relationships, your relationship to being here, plants and animals, the kingdom of earth itself. And 3 is humanity. Work on those 3 chakras as a collapse into the heart chakra, because that's what's happening to your body anyway. So do the work to dig out anything that is scary or unfinished or intimidating or has belief systems driving you that are no longer serving you, etc. And choose, if you choose, any way you choose to release that, because that is what's already collapsing. And when we're in that 4 and 5 and 6 range, remember, now when I raise up, I'm opening up 6 more timelines. So now I've got 12. So weird stuff's going to be happening. Don't think you're nuts. Don't think you're necessarily crazy if you have all of a sudden one day a kettlebell sitting on your TV stand, reminding you that maybe you want to get in shape, because that's truly what you want. So this 3D, 5D jump is really real, and it's already happening. We aren't going to another universe to be in 5D. It is a parallel experience. It is happening simultaneously, as are all of your experiences, by the way. So the negative agenda reminds you, you're not going to be here. The world's going to blow up. The planet is losing its mind. We're having pole shifts and you're all going to die. The aliens are going to come and kill you. I mean, the pandemic's going to take you off the planet. All of that stuff is programmed. And yes, some of it is real, but please consider not playing into the game, because this is the time that it is important for us to clear our mind, clear our emotions, and clear everything from the body matrix so that you can hold that critical mass that we've already attained. So we are all being freed from an enslaved planetary system. We have been enslaved for eons. This is nothing new. But you, everybody that's on this call and everyone that listens to a replay, please remember you signed up to be here. You signed up to be a human experience, to clear your own container of all of your souls, all of your past lives and future lives, all of your soul family, your soul body, your soul essence, all of it. You are freeing yourself from all of that just by being on this planet. So the night is really the doer. Be aware of how to have the balance between being the human doing machine and the human being. We talk about that a lot. So it is really important for us to watch how we cellularly clear, because our bodies are changing from a cellular structure all the way through. We are going to have aches and pains. Doesn't mean we're dying. I have the weirdest things go on all the time, and I do a check and I'm like, nope, I'm not dying. I mean, and this whole struggle that I've had with this mercury thing has been so incredibly interesting to navigate a Western world of medicine that doesn't really tell me much of anything. And I'm not throwing Western medicine 100% under the bus, but I'm saying use your own individualized inner voice first and foremost. Learn how to befriend your body. Learn how to find your discernment if you choose, any way you choose. So we are mostly unaware humans on this planet, and that's why we get caught up in the bullshit. The knowledge is what we need to remember. And that's what's so cool about this Melchizedek coming back into the infrastructure, because it is the knowledge. Once something is returned and reclaimed, we all benefit. Once somebody puts that book back in the library, we all have the chance to read it. We all have the chance for the information. So even the light workers that are doing all of this work of the architecture on behalf of you all, maybe be grateful once in a while. You don't have to know who they are. You don't even have to know what they do, but just maybe be grateful. The negative places on our planet are all completely changed. We used to have really bad stargates. We had a black sun stargate, which was in Iran and Iraq and Giza. That is completely changed from an infrastructure. I worked on that probably 5 years ago with some other workers. These are all changed since 2012. We also have another one that is in the Machu Picchu area that is restructuring right now. We have all kinds of stargates in the UK that have changed drastically, and in Australia. This is why our planet is reacting the way that it's reacting, and we think it's scary and it's awful, and it's not necessarily. It's realigning architecture so that pieces can come back together and we can reclaim ourselves and our stations of identity. Again, it's a mouthful, but think about it. A station of identity means I can be everything and anything that I want to be. I don't have a limitation. God Source doesn't want a limitation on us. We're down here to experience on behalf of Source itself. So these are important times, and I think that's a mouthful. I hope maybe you want to maybe listen to this twice if it went completely over your head. Oh, Lordy, right? But it is a universal time matrix that we're moving upward in. And again, it comes in triads. So 1, 2, and 3 in our body. 4, 5, and 6 is what we're working on now. When we claim and reclaim ourselves from our soul stance, we move into our monad self, which is our crown and upward above us, which is now our monad. So this is personality on the bottom, soul next, monad. Monad means it's my higher self, my God Source self. And then I get to my avatar, hopefully sometime, right? And we've even opened up more architecture beyond the avatar in terms of the holographic world that we weren't even aware of. And this just happened within the last 2 years. And so the reclamation of the actual infrastructure is beyond anything our heads can even understand. And I mean, I study this and my mind still goes, what in the hell is that talking about? And I listen to it 4 and 5 times until I can sort of piece it together. The normal Joe on the street isn't even understanding it, much less doesn't give a crap. And that's okay. It really is okay. Nobody is judging anybody. Not everybody came here to do the work. Some came here to just be the experience. So please give yourself ease and grace if you're not hearing the things you want to hear or experiencing the things you want to experience the way that you think you should, because it's not all going to be fireworks. Sometimes it's going to be the mundane and the boring. Sometimes it's going to be, I got to clean my dishes. I got to do my laundry. Or do I have to? No, I get to. It's that perspective change on every single solitary day. That's why this card this month is so important. So moving on just quickly through the other things. The meat memo, you can kind of go through yourself. I had readiness to work was the physical plane. This is very much along the lines of what this night actually does. The physical body has to actually be ready to work. And it's important for us to take care of our container because this is the only one we get this round. And so readiness to work is really all about performing with the physical vehicle and how you take care of that. And this is going to be changing. This thing is going through such amazing transformation right here in front of ourselves. And so follow its lead. Don't follow the lead out here. Follow the lead in here. If I want to eat this and it feels great, great. But if I want to drink this and it doesn't sound like it feels good, don't. Follow the inner guidance. It's important. And if you don't have the inner guidance, do the work to hone it. Practice, practice, play, practice, play, play, play. Emotional plane, I said finding meaning. So finding meaning is not only the sixth stage of grief, but it is when the mind and body emotionally connect over a concept, idea, or situation. That's why it's in grief. Again, when we die, we transform and change. That's why I put that in there. I think it's so interesting. We find meaning through sadness and pain just as much. So we're always growing. So don't be scared of the crap. Don't be scared of the garbage. Don't be scared of the pain if you choose to. The mental plane was patience and perseverance. That is literally what we've been talking about. This is such a tough concept, and it's hard to stay on task and on track like that night and see it through. So that's a biggie. And then spiritual plane was self-realization. So the fulfillment of oneself by the possibilities of one's character or personality. So see what you got in you. Spend some time with yourself. See what you really are all about, and let your stations of identity come forward. And allow it to happen through meditation and quiet time or prayer or walking or gardening. There's no right or wrong to any of this. The cool tool is really awesome. We've had 2 Vibe people now in a row. We had Tracy last month doing the astrological work. And now we have Anharid, who is actually based in Wales in the UK, but she is doing our astrological update. She did one for June. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate her. She's just offering this to all of you. She's posting it on the forums. So please, if you choose, she doesn't have June up or July up quite yet. She just emailed me the other day that it's coming. Keep your eye out for those. Read them and give her a heads up and a thank you, because that's a lot of work she's offering on behalf of Just Because. And I think that that's pretty cool. Meditation was the blueprint of the Akashic Records. So see if that resonates for you. And maybe, like I said, listen to this another time or so, because it might sink in a little bit better. The video was very long this month, and it was all about the natural needs of self and of the planetary system. So that will speak for itself. So before we wind down, I again would like to end with the prayer that Kim does for us. She was traveling this month, so she said, this is just a tiny one, but a tiny one can be very powerful. So once again, we thank Kim. So if everybody wants to just relax for a quick minute, that was a lot to go through, I know. So take a big breath and just blow it out. Maybe close your eyes and just relax for a moment. And again, a breath in and out as we read from Kim. My spiritual journey. I pray to you, my God, my source, for the courage to be alone with myself, for the strength to dig deep inside and unfold the many layers of me, for the discipline to discern that which no longer is mine to hold, for faith in my inner guidance, for patience with the essence and the pace of my journey, for the confidence to walk my path in ease, self-love, inner beauty, and grace. I pray to you, my God, my source, in gratitude. So be it. And with that, bringing you back, and a thank you to Kim, a shout out to her, cutting your heart chakra as we release our sacred circle, releasing from north with earth, west with water, south with fire, east with air, above and below, and us as individuals. If you'd all chop your heart chakra, we love each other, but don't want to take anybody home. Thank you, thank you. And then last but not least, like I said, shameless plug, I still do have a little bit of time or space left in both of the events at the Palmer House. There's a couple of emails that have already gone out, e-blasts on that, plus it's all on my website. The one this weekend on 5, 6, and 7 is about empathing. It is the precursor for my new book that comes out next March, I guess. And so it will really give you lots and lots of actual tactics and ideas and practices for empathing. And then the actual spirit search, or the actual ghost hunt one, which is always super fun and not too scary. Don't worry about it. It is actually a very beautiful healing event, is in September. I think that's 24, 25, 26, 27, right in there. So Palmer House itself is sold out for both of them, but it is always available to still come to the event. and have your lodging elsewhere, which is usually American. It's all on my website. So would love to see you there, especially if you're a newbie and you haven't done either of those events. We encourage you to expand your psychic skills. As always, everybody take what resonates. I know this was a lot tonight. I hope that maybe it made some sense. And if not, let it go. All right. Until next time, everybody. Thanks for being here. Cosmic hugs.